Welcome to Blinkers Off with your hosts, Jared Welch and Aaron Halterman.
What is up? I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. It's Thursday, January 11th, and this is Blinkers Off. What's up, man?
What's up, guys? What's up, Jared? Good to see you again tonight. Welcome back, everybody. If you've been watching the YouTube show all day, our YouTube channel all day, we've been busy, but this is the flagship show you're into. And Jared, thank God this week is almost over because this is the most boring horse racing week of the year, without any doubt.
Just like so people understand, internally, it's like we just, we're always like, Magic sends over our list and what kind of the races to kind of we need to handicap for. And you kind of looked at, you kind of saw you saw this weekend coming like a week ago, and you're just like, oh, this sucks. And you just, there's literally nothing to get excited about. There's nothing to get excited about this weekend.
No, I
know that's not great to say when you have a business that revolves around betting horses, and not to say there's not going to be opportunities to bet and things like that, but it's just not. I don't know. It doesn't get you out of bed really this weekend.
Yeah, no. If you're into like big cards and stuff like that, it's just not going to happen. But what I told you, this is it. This is the last weekend until I don't know, probably sometime in September, where we really just don't have anything going on a weekend of horse racing. And like even after the Breeders' Cup, there's things to kind of look forward to, and there's big days and stuff. There's just not a ton to do. But like Shotty said, then you get into the next weekend and the comps here, and then you get into the next weekend, you get the Pegasus and the Southwest, and it's like, okay, this is what we've been waiting for. So It's almost here. January's off to a pretty good start with racing. I think it's been pretty exciting, but the Pasco Stakes being the headliner this weekend doesn't really, get people too excited.
Yeah, you look at the calendar and it's a glaring, as far as the Derby stuff goes, it's a glaring, empty spot there between the 6th and the 20th.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you have the Lecomte, and then you've got the Southwest. Then you got the Holy Bull, Robert E. Lewis, and the Withers all on the same day. Same if Davis, and the list goes on, right? And then we get into the 50-point races. With the Risen Star and everything. Before you know it, and then like the Rebel being February 24th is still something that I'm not going to get used to, right? But
yeah,
it's February. We're 6 weeks out from, I guess 7 weeks out from then, so it's just like you blink, and we've done this long enough to where you blink and it's going to be the Florida Derby and the Arkansas Derby and all those fun things. So, you might as well try to enjoy a little bit of the lull because it's about to get nuts.
Yeah, and I think it really next week is going to be interesting because the Gun Runner was, I thought, a pretty strong race for 2-year-olds, and now they're 3. Even though it's just been a month, but now they're 3 in the Lecomte, and it's the first kind of step. And I think how horses bounce back, will horses keep running as well as we saw? I think that's going to be a fascinating race next week, and I'm really, really looking forward to that. And like you said, that just kicks off. Pegasus week has always just been great ever since it started. It's just added a big boost to January, and so that's always a fun weekend. So yeah, this weekend it's like, yeah, we're focusing on making money. But we're not really focusing on looking for the next, star.
Well, yeah, the next star ran today. That was, she won an allowance at the Gulfstream earlier, but no. Yeah, and we do have the first 20-point Oaks race this weekend, so there's that, and it's not awesome, but you do get 20 points, which might be enough or close to enough. Yeah. But sadly, it's not. Like I said, like at least it'd been nice to have one of these races, even the Pasco, be like, oh, that's an interesting one. Maybe, move like as they go down into Tampa through that circuit, maybe that's one. But I don't know. Wasn't there for me.
Yeah, there's a horse that I'm kind of interested in playing there, maybe, but I don't know. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, that's just it. It's just kind of I don't know, and like I don't see like a ton. And you could always Derby horses or talented horses sneak up on you, but I don't see a ton running this week, even in like allowances or maidens. So, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. And then I don't know if Oaklawn will run or not. They had to cancel last week. There was like a sinkhole in the track, and now with this, I don't know how bad a snow weather they're going to get. I know snow's not going to be a ton, but it is going to get freezing cold.
Oh my gosh!
So we'll see on it. I haven't, to be quite honest, I haven't taken the Oaklawn racing real serious this week because of those kind of question marks around it. But we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, don't worry, Davey. We'll get to that later at the end of the show. Obviously, cold week or cold game coming up Saturday. But yeah, you're right. We're about. I don't know. Yeah, I hear in Missouri, it's always insane to figure out the weather as far as like this time of the year if it's going to snow or not. But one thing we do know is it's cold as shit. Right now, it's not, but it's about to be. So I mean, brutally cold. The wind. So yeah, it's I don't know with down south what it's going to be like at Oaklawn, but you're right, it is kind of hard to. And that's the way it is. Like it feels like anymore. I mean, anytime you have races called the Mockingbird Stakes at this time of the year, it's like how am I supposed to take this seriously, guys?
I love Oaklawn. I love they extended the schedule, but they got to regroup on what we're going to call our stakes races. They're so bad, these early ones.
It's almost like they did everything right. You know, they got everything like, let's extend the meet. Let's do this. And they're like, oh, fuck. Like, what are we going to name it? What are we going to name these races? And they're just like, hey, some intern or something. Like, can you give us a list of like 10 different horse names that we could throw in for these stakes races? And then somebody was like in the holiday season or something. I don't know. It's crazy. They're awful.
They're awful. The tinsel and the mistletoe and
what's
terrible.
The Mockingbird?
I don't know. And that doesn't have any relevance towards Arkansas, like the state of Arkansas either. Like I don't know. Like Davey saying Bathhouse Rose Stakes. I mean, it's a terrible name, but at least that's something in Hot Springs. Like Mockingbird, like so weird.
Bathhouse Row is like the Travers. You could compare it to the Mockingbird.
This is true. Yeah.
Like I just keep thinking of the what is it? Mock. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the Rebel's gonna be sweet. From what I saw someone, where is it at? Sierra Leone, I guess, is pointing to that. Timberlake, I saw today, is going to be pointing to that for Brad Cox. Who knows? He could have how many horses? Catching Freedom, obviously, your Smarty Jones winner, maybe go into there as well.
Well,
so I think and we know, like in years past, the Rebel would not be surprised if we see a Pletcher and a Baffert come in. Obviously, Baffert tends to do that, right? So I feel like we're going to start really. The Rebel to me always is a way to kind of indicate kind of some of the real horses we have.
Yep. No, I agree. I definitely agree. And when you give away over $1 million for a prep of a prep of a prep, then you're going to get a good field. And so,
shit.
I mean, Timberlake, interesting. If he's pointing there, Sierra Leone, if that horse shows up, I know a ton of people just adore that horse. I'm still on the fence with him, but I would certainly be excited to see him run there. I don't know if he's good or if he's not or great or not. I'm not sure. So I'd love to see him. I'm on record saying Dornoch and Sierra Leone, those two next starts are really going to tell us a lot.
Yeah. We'll get into it because we're going to talk. That's kind of the main focus of today's show because of kind of the lack of racing. We will do a little rapid fire after, but we will get into. We're going to kind of just let's kind of regroup a little bit before we really get going down this Kentucky Derby trail. So we'll touch on all the info. I have a couple questions I want to ask you, Halterman, as well as people listening, as it relates to the Kentucky Derby. And then we're going to rapid fire selections. I put major stakes races, which is kind of funny, but for this weekend at Aqueduct, Oaklawn, and Tampa Bay. Let's go. Yeah, I almost fixed it. I was like, it's kind of generous, but
they're major in terms of the other races this weekend. So
that's all relative, right?
Right.
That's true. Let's pull up let me pull this up and and if you guys have questions, comments, horses you want us to comment on, that kind of thing, just make sure you hit it up in the chat. Or if you're watching this after the fact, make sure you leave a comment and we will try to address it, whether it be we always try to address it if an answer in the comments. If not, we sometimes even will address it in a new video when Halterman either does his rankings, or if it's a good enough topic, we might even address it separately. So it's always good to leave comments and questions when you guys have them. Let's see here. All right. Well, that's the list as it stands today. It's all right, guys, we are, let's see, about 113 days, 19 hours and 59 minutes away from Kentucky Derby 150. That's right. It's 150th running this year. And what better way than to give us a look inside? And look, there's look inside. Why is it showing me this? Hang on. Take a look inside the Kentucky Derby Trail as it relates to, where we're at now before these Kentucky Derby kind of prep races really start going. Halterman, I'll at least start it with you. Where are you at now with some of the, are you you kind of alluded to it just a second ago in the opening, but like, are you pretty much like a wait and see approach with all the horses right now? Is there anyone that you're like, I'm really excited about? I think that horse can be, or is it more like, but let's wait till they come back?
Well, I obviously all of them, you kind of have that thought, but that's kind of not what we're doing here. You want to get some insight on this thing. And I think, look, I think whether you want to admit it or not, I think Fierceness at this point is way better than everybody else, because I think he's ran 2 races that are way better than everybody else, and he's beat a better horse than anybody else has beaten that's on the trail. Right? He beat Muth, and he beat Muth so easy, and I just think you look at Muth and go, well, what has that horse done wrong? Right? And that's a horse that I have picked a lot, bet a lot, and didn't really like him at the Breeders' Cup. And even when he lost, I said, he's a lot better than what I thought he was. And then I thought he was really good in the San Vicente. So look, that's a horse that came back and won, and won pretty impressively. So to me, Fierceness is way ahead of everybody else. And I say that also because the number 2 horse on my list is Nisos. And who knows what's going to happen with him when it comes to the Bob Baffert situation again that we're having to deal with. So to me, it's like Fierceness is at a high level, and horses are going to have to come up to that level, or he's going to have to regress down to them at this point.
Yeah. It doesn't really feel like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how he lose. Like, I don't know how. It's something's gonna have to. Like, he's gonna have to come back and not be the same.
Yeah.
Or something, because it's just, I like you say, like Muth was awesome, right? Like he was like last week. He was great. He looked the part. And you're like, oh yeah, I remember he got curb stomped by Fierceness not that long ago.
Yeah.
But the question mark with Fierceness is we have that one, right? We have that one dud of a race, and what he's freaked twice, he's had a dud once, and it's just kind of like you still think he's the best, and I don't think there's a lot of debate, but you still wonder, has he got it figured out?
I guess it would be the answer. You just don't have a lot of data. But yeah, it does kind of feel like that was so weird, the second race, and who knows what happened there. But I guess here's the deal. Like the race he ran at Santa Anita in the Breeders' Cup, he doesn't have to get a whole lot better off that, and he can probably beat the group we've seen so far. That's where I'm at with it. Now, that's so far. That's sitting here January 11th. But it's very much he's well ahead of everybody else. And I think Muth came back and showed you just how well ahead he is of everybody else. I think Muth is who he is. Like, I don't think he's great, but I also think you're going to have to run a very good race to beat him. And I think Nisos is still Bob's best horse, most talented horse, but Muth is further along in the process. He's went 2 turns. He is a grade 1 winner. Of course, Nisos is a Bob Hope Stakes winner. I think that's a grade 3. But anyway, it's apple and oranges kind of at this point, though, because Muth has just checked a lot more boxes as far as his racing career goes.
Well, and I mean, at what point, like we're used to this conversation at this point because it's happened, it happened last year too. But like, at what point do we stop talking about the Bob Baffert horses?
Yeah.
I mean, at what point is it? Because last year he waited for a few of them, waited to the very last, the very last possible that he could to get a horse in, and at what point, like, how are we approaching? Because I mean, if people are looking at the list here on the screen, there are 0 Bob Baffert horses listed.
Yeah.
But if you counted Bob Baffert horses, I would say you could list 5 easily. That would probably could be in the top 5 here or top 20 here.
Yeah.
So what are you doing with those horses? How are you handling that? Are you still handicapping them? Like, okay, maybe they will get switched at some point.
Yeah, you just have to do that as of right now. I just take them one day at a time, basically. An old adage there from a sports team, but that's as a handicapper with Baffert, you can't exactly ignore it, right? Because what if they do just switch a trainer and they're fine? But you can't get too excited about him either, because who knows? I mean, I think when Arabian Night went down and won the Southwest, everybody was like, okay, that's going to be one that's going to get transferred. And then we didn't see him until the Haskell, right? So, and I'm skeptical that maybe Arabian Night could have ran in those Triple Crown races. And Baffert said, you know what? I really don't want to go through the whole taking him somewhere else. So I just think you got to handle it one day at a time with them. But, as of right now, like, they look like the next most talented horses. Silver Charm brings up Track Phantom, and I think I'm really interested to see him in the LeCompte and those horses coming out of the Gun Runner. I thought Track Phantom, I'm not saying he's Epicenter. He looked a little like Epicenter, how he won that race in the Gun Runner. And again, I'm not saying he's near that good yet, but I think at this point in Epicenter's career, this point in Track Phantom's career, they're kind of on a similar path. Now, can we see the levels come up for Track Phantom? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I posted it there too. Track Phantom got an 89 buyer for that. And 87, by the way, was for Epicenter in that same race. And so it's, I mean, it's impossible to compare horses, year after year, but we do see a little bit of a track record for that. And I mean, there's no reason to think he won't continue to improve. Right. And so I think the question mark I would have for you, Halterman, and for anybody is the horse that he kind of stomped in the race, right? And that's Nash. I mean, that's kind of going into the race, that was the horse, and going into the year, that was the horse, right? I mean, like, he's top couple as far as that. So how are you? Is it a make or break kind of situation for him, where if and when wherever he shows up next with Nash? I mean, obviously he's got to show more than he did last time.
Yeah, I'm not going to be quick to give up on him because he has shown some really good races, but yeah, that was not a good race from Nash. No doubt about it. He's got to get better. Again, though, I'm not going to give up on him. They're very young, and I think he can bounce back. But to your question, is the next race a make or break? Probably is the best answer. It's like, you can never say never in racing, right? But you got to see him run a lot better in that next race. Maybe not even win, but like be threatening to win, right? Like, there was never a time in that race, talking about the Gun Runner, where you thought Nash was winning, and that can't happen as a huge favorite.
Well, we see this a lot too with, I mean, especially trainers that have multiple horses in training, like, for as far as it relates to the Kentucky Derby in this case, is you get a guy like Brad Cox that has multiple options, right? Tons of options when it comes. I mean, the list, there's several horses that are going to be pointed to the Kentucky Derby as we stand here today. One bad effort, it's not like the horse is done for him totally, but it's like, yeah, we're just going to slow down with him. We're not going to rush him. He's not ready. We'll wait for the sun. You know what I mean? So you don't have that with the guy like Brad Cox and some of these trainers that have, multiple 3-year-olds that are training. it is a little bit make or break situation for them, because it's not like they'll just say, well, let's just keep trying. Let's just keep trying. It's not Dwayne, right? That style where it's just like, we'll just keep throwing them in, they'll back off. And so you got to be careful. And that's kind of why I say it does feel a little bit like you got to show something here, or it's probably not going to happen, at least right now.
But yeah, and with these big barns, it's like, okay, you're not going to go do it for me. I'm going to move on to somebody else, type of thing. Yeah. And he's got Catching Freedom sitting there talking about Brad Cox. He got Catching Freedom. That could be his new kind of A horse, so to speak. But look, I see somebody in the comment mentioning Snead as well. So that was a second place finisher there at the Gun Runner, and that's again what I'm saying. The comp, I think. I'm very interested, because I thought all three of those horses ran well enough to make me go, okay, I'm ready to see them again. And also, guys, I think we really have to take the fairgrounds serious. I know up until about 4 or 5 years ago, we really didn't, and that was for good reason, but it's been really good the last few years, if not producing winners, producing quality contenders, producing contenders that, at some point in the race looked like they were going to win, or they may have won, or whatever you have, but horses that have really come out and ran well in the Derby are going through the fairgrounds now. So we got to keep that in mind.
Yeah. Like you said, it didn't feel like that long ago where we were like, these were, this is a circuit you just couldn't trust. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's, it feels, for the most part, right. I'll just go like Instant Coffee, Call Me Midnight Bourbon, Enforceable, from the Lecomte situation. But I think another point to that is it's not necessarily always the winners of this race. It's, we've seen it before, right? With these horses that, they ran well, but didn't run, we ran the race, but didn't run well. That, Two Fills, for instance, came back, obviously lost in the Lecomte last year. We obviously know he, nice horse there. Epicenter, another one that lost to Call Me Midnight that year. Obviously, Cyberknife was in that race. As well, when the Midnight Bourbon won that year, Proxy, Mandaloon, we're all in that race. So the point being is, it may not be a winner type situation where it's only the winner. I think it is a race where you're seeing quality horses start to ship there or point to the circuit, and maybe they're not at their best at this race, but you're going to get a few out of here, and judging by what we've seen in the last couple of years, kind of feels that you can trust that to happen again.
Yeah, no, and I think, Epicenter is my greatest example, a horse that didn't win, but he ran a winning race, and he was the best horse in the crop that year. So the fairgrounds form you can trust now, and therefore you need to take it a lot more serious than the days of the I Struck a Nerve who would win those races down there.
Yeah.
So you gotta be a little more careful about it now.
Let's see. I'm trying to decide how I want to. I'll just ask the kind of the glaring question. And it's kind of an easy question to ask, but maybe it doesn't have an easy answer. The Derby was running Saturday.
Yep.
Who would be your pick? And if the Derby was running in May, normal, who's your pick? Is that the same horse? Is it Fierceness? Is that where you're at, or is it? Are you like Fierceness would be it now? But if you're waiting till then, maybe a horse like Muth or whoever is someone that you're like, I might take a chance with that horse in a couple months.
If it was Saturday, I would probably bet $10,000 on Fierceness. I just think he's that far ahead of everybody else, right? It maybe not 10,000 because of the inconsistency there, but yeah. I would bet a lot. At this point, who are you supposed to be scared of if they're running the race on Saturday, right? Now, if you're talking about in May, it's impossible to answer because you just don't really know what's going to happen. We've kind of seen Pletcher horses. We know they've got that window of 3 or 4 good races, right? So yeah, like let's say he kind of is like Forte a little bit in his like pattern of races. That kind of says, yeah, we could probably keep him real good until the Derby. So I think I'm not expecting this huge regression. I think if Forte would have stayed healthy, he would have had a great shot to win the Derby last year. But you kind of saw he started to dip off a little bit towards, the second part of that season. So I think Pletcher will keep Fierceness in pretty good order. I don't see this big regression from him. I don't, see it. But we've kind of talked about it, and we talked about it with Forte last year. Those horses were catching up to him, right? He didn't look like this standout. He looked like, yeah, maybe he wins, maybe he doesn't, but he wasn't a huge standout because he didn't really get any better.
Yeah.
That kind of thing can happen. And if fierceness doesn't really get better, doesn't progress, that's when you're going to leave other horses in with a big shot, right? But you just don't know who that is as of right now. You don't know. It's just going to have to be who progresses at that moment.
Yeah, and I think it's also interesting to like fierceness as like is such a light he's lightly raced. He's also ran in 2 grade 1s, but he is like from comparison, like Forte had ran in 5 races as a 2-year-old, I think, and fierceness has only ran in 3. But they were, it went from maiden special weight to grade 1 to grade 1, and then 1 in grade 1, the Breeders' Cup. So he's obviously stepped his game up there, but he still feels in some weird way, and I can't even really quite like explain it, but he does feel a little bit untested in some weird way, and it doesn't. I get that doesn't make any sense because he just rolled at the Breeders' Cup, but from considering we've seen him 3 times, once was in the maiden special weight. Once was a disaster, and the other one was breathtaking, right? And it just kind of feels like, yeah, I think he's amazing, but I just don't know yet. You know what I mean? Like, it's weird.
Yeah. Listen, I think that race in the Champagne is going to weigh on everybody's mind. I really do. And I think imagine if he would have won that race. We probably would be talking like he might win the Triple Crown. Has a chance to be like one of the all-time greats type of, maybe not to that extreme this early in his year, but you would be thinking it would be in your mind. It's not going to surprise me if this horse like takes a shot at running the table here. Right. But I think as handicappers, when we see no-shows, it does kind of make us a little sick to our stomach. Like there's getting beat and there's no showing a race. Because that's the worst feeling in the world when a horse just doesn't show up for you. So I think that's part of the reason why you kind of have that situation. And I think the other reason is he hasn't been tested because think about it. The race at Saratoga, nobody was close to him. The race at the Breeders' Cup, nobody was close to him. And then the race of the Champagne, he wasn't close to anybody else because he quit. So we really haven't seen him get in a battle,
No.
Like so
he's won by 11. And he's won by like 6 or 7, whatever it was in the Breeders' Cup. And then he lost by like 20 lengths in the Champagne.
Yep. And I'll never forget, we put a good amount of money on him at Saratoga that day. We were there. And we remember we went downtown. We're at the bar. We're like, we'll leave here so we can show up for Fierceness race and then watch the rest of the card. And I remember walking in there and like, he was rounding the corner already like 4 or 5 ahead. And it was like, well, that's great. We're going to cash this ticket. Walk in and cash a ticket right off the bat. But at the same time, you're right. It's like, where are the other horses? They're not, where are they? They weren't there.
Well, and even to give you the flip side of that, I remember the next race and I think you were at an OU game or something. You didn't have any good service or something.
Yep.
And, and we had played them everything, we played everything right through Fierceness. Yep. And when I was talking to you or texting with you, you're like, how did Fierceness look? And I was like, dude, not good. Like, not only did he not win, but he was a disaster. And you couldn't even believe it, right? You didn't see it. So you didn't until you watched it later, but you couldn't even fathom the fact that sure, maybe getting beat by, if you said, Timberlake won, you're like, oh, okay. I mean, Timberlake, pretty good horse. But to lose by, 20 lengths. So I guess that's just where we're at with him. That next race for him it feels like in a weird way is a little bit of a prove it race. And I know that is probably not fair. And I don't by any means think like if he doesn't win, it's like, oh, he's trash. He can't, but is he a super freak or is he just a little funky? I think that next race will tell us.
Well, I mean, the one thing we've always known, like when he was getting ready to run that day, everybody we knew was like, oh, he's really good. And then in the Champagne, everybody was like, oh, he's training better after that win. And I'm like, oh my God. And then he did that. So, you never know.
You remember the quote after the Breeders' Cup? They were like, we didn't even know what he was going to do.
Yep.
But like literally when the trainer and the owner, Ripoli and Pletcher, were like, we didn't even know. Like
Yep.
we thought we wouldn't. We were like, we couldn't. We wouldn't be surprised if he lost by by 20 again, or if he won, like what he did today. And so if the owner and trainer are telling you that, that just tells you.
And that wasn't trainer speak, because like our connections were that with the Pletcher barn were kind of like they're entering him and they're just taking a shot. They're not sure.
Yeah.
So
obviously it was the right shot. So
it was the right shot.
But holy shit. Because the bottom line is like, to the same point, like you said, if he would have won in the Champagne, well, if he wouldn't have ran in that race and Muth did what he did, and then Muth did what he did last week, we'd be sitting here thinking, God, get him with another trainer now, because this is like the Derby winner for sure, So it kind of shows you just by that one race how it can be a little bit of a misnomer, a little bit with when it comes to fierceness, because he just beat the brakes off of Muth, and Muth looks like a Derby horse.
And like I said, in the 2 races he's won, he's really not let other horses be in the race. Like he's kind of just broke their hearts, so to speak, but again, we'll have to see. It's all about progress in this point. And if you start to go backwards, even though you're a little bit ahead of the group, they will catch you. So he's going to have to keep it up.
All right. So, again, if you guys have a question about a certain horse, hit us up here in the chat. We'll try to bring it up. I think we've been bringing up most of the horses you guys have talked about, but give us a weird horse right now that's not, maybe not in the top 20, maybe is, whatever, but like a horse that maybe not a lot of people are talking about, that you're like, you know what, you guys might want to watch out for this one.
So I had 2 in mind until you said not people are talking about. So let me think again.
You can,
okay, let me answer you in 2 parts. The 2 weirdest horses for me are Dornoch and Sierra Leone right now. Even though everybody's talking about them, I have no idea what they are. Like none. So they're very strange to me. I don't know what to make of the rims. And I've been on public, many times, many videos saying, I'm not saying it was bad and I'm not saying it was good. I'm saying I didn't understand it. And I'm not going to understand what those horses are till the next start. So there's 2 right there that I'll just kind of throw out. Weird horses that people kind of under the radar. Let's see. I thought he's not really under the radar. I was very confused with Change of Commands race. I thought that was a strange one. Looked like this horse was getting ready to roll and win by 4 or 5 and kind of quit. So I was weirded out by that one. And I think Legalize, and I know it's kind of biased because Legalize is on my fantasy team, 2 nice wins in sprint races, but has a route pedigree. That's not a lot of people are talking about that horse. I think Legalize, when he stretches out, will be interesting for kind of an under the radar trainer. So Legalize, Change of Command. That's another couple kind of weird horses at this moment.
Yeah. To me, and it's not, this is not a good one because of who is trained by, and obviously is ranked by a very high, but not, what is Nisos really? What is he?
Mm-hmm.
I think he's so regarded. He's like similar to Nash. And I'm not saying like I think he's going to be bad or anything. I just think I'm very intrigued by him because I think it's a very hit or miss type situation with that horse. And Bob Baffert obviously has a ton. And the other one for me is Timberlake, because that's one that in the Champagne looked awesome, and then in the Breeders' Cup did not look awesome, right?
Yep.
And we've seen this before with Brad Cox horses that have looked good at as a 2-year-old and really didn't, but then kind of he came back with them and did okay as a 3-year-old. So very interested to see how that horse comes back, because you look at the rankings there, or the leaderboard, and he's sitting. I mean, he's in 3rd. He's got 16 points. He really just needs a decent finish. If the Rebel is the race, he just needs a decent finish in the race, and he's in the Derby. So I mean, that he's one to me that I feel like a lot of people are talking about all the other Brad Cox horses. He's kind of one that is already there, and I think could be interesting.
Yeah, I liked him a lot going into the Breeders' Cup, and I'm with you. I thought he ran pathetic, honestly, and yeah. I don't know how excited I am, but he definitely is one that is being forgotten totally, that could still come back and be okay. Like I said, he's ran very well at times. So I'm with you on that. AK Hall mentions watch out for Real Men Violin. Let me call it right now. That is a candidate for a horse to come out of nowhere and finish like second or third in the Bluegrass at 20-1. That is a McPeak weird horse. We'll run him on 6 different surfaces. He'll show up in the Bluegrass and you'll go, what is this? And he'll hit the board at 20 or 30-1. That's my prediction on Real Men Violin.
The thing is with McPeak is like you can almost guarantee that he's going to show up with he's going to have a horse that like in the last second appears on the Derby radar, but you're not going to know when it's coming. You're not going to be able to predict it. It's not going to be like, oh, the 4 to 5 horse, he continues to win races. He's in the Derby. It's going to be, to me, it's like, okay, well, yeah, of course he got one in. So,
yep.
Shadi asked about Parchment Party. That was first round, I believe, a first round pick draft by the Magic Mike team.
Yeah, we'll see on him. He's looked pretty good so far. I haven't really heard much about where he might run next, but yeah, I mean, you could throw him in the list, and he's kind of that horse that's sitting there unproven. The Born Noble horse for Pletcher, another one you could kind of say looked really good, unproven, and El Capi, who looked pretty good, but is also very unproven. So those are kind of.
What's the Badford on my team that just broke his maiden?
That's a good one as well. Imagination is a horse that I thought he looked pretty good, and you could definitely put him in that category as well. Yeah, for sure. They're mentioning Miramati. I don't know anything about what I haven't looked him up, but I think stretching out Miramati will be decent. But he's not in that category of these other ones we just mentioned because he can't get his maiden broke yet. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, with Imagination, it was like he has another one. I think he had lost twice in a row as a 2-year-old, and then came back and he looked awesome. So, you never know. Sometimes that switch out or getting to the 3-year-old season, especially if these Baffert horses can do wonders. So I still think that with Nysos and Muth, and I was talking to you earlier about this, and then. Coach Prime and I already said Nysos, Imagination, like there's a ton that we still don't quite know what the filter of who's going to go where and where they going to, which one's good, which one's going to be on the Derby tree, because we've seen this countless times, right? Or especially over the last several years with the ban for Baffert, where one might disappear and one might be on the trail. Then this one's on the trail, but now he's not going to go to he's not going to leave Bob Baffert, right? This one is going to leave. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, you can get excited about him, but it's hard to get too excited about any of them yet.
Yep. When he wasn't banned from this thing, he would try to get as many horses as he could in the gate. And why wouldn't you? You got owners, they want to run there. But now that's changed. And like you said, like with Coach Prime, you even said it to me, it's like, the problem is he going to be good enough where they push him to the Derby, or are they going to say, you know what, he's not that great right now. We'll just ease up on him, point him to different stuff. And I think with any of Baffert's horses, that is going to be an issue.
I mean, just like we talked about with the Brad Cox, with Pletcher, with the list. There's when you got guys like that have those kind of options, they're not feeling forced, because the other thing is like tends to be like the same owners year after year, right? Mm-hmm. So like Bob Baffert has the same owners that have been at the Derby, and Pletcher does, and Cox does. So it's like it's not like you and me as the owner and we're like, come on, just try it again. These guys are like, yeah, well, we'll have one more next year, we'll have another one the next year. So if it's not there, they're just not going to do it.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
AK wants to know about Just Steel. That to me is the horse that's going to just run in all the preps and probably still not get in.
I mean, he's going to run in all the preps. He may get in, he may not. It's just going to depend. I don't have a lot of interest in him.
Over under 12. No, I'll give a real one. Over under 6 races between now and the Derby.
I hope it's under, but it might be over. I don't know. 3 are already on the docket, and he's been known to kind of squeeze in a fairground race in between one of those Oaklawn races. I think 4 would be the most, but I don't want to commit to saying that for sure. one horse. This is a very obscure horse. Exarban Derby for Johnny Ortiz. I heard this horse was really going to be a pretty good horse. They were pretty high on him. He completely missed the break on debut. I mean, horrific. Got way behind. He made up a lot of ground late. So you might keep stable that one up. I'm not saying he's a Derby horse. Stable that one up.
What was the horse's name at Aqueduct on Saturday or Sunday? I think it was a 3-year-old, wasn't it?
Well, that was a New York bred. I cannot remember the name of that horse. You talk about bad breaks from the gate. That would be it.
But if someone can, Shoddy, we'll let you bring it up. Whatever race it was.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter what, regardless of this conversation, you have to go watch this replay.
Yeah,
which, by the way,
Crimson.
Sorry, go ahead.
Good. Well, it's Crimson Light, 4th race at Aqueduct on Sunday. Yeah,
Crimson Light. Okay. By the way, it's on our bio on pretty much all our social channels. We have a Discord now, so if you want to get involved with us, talking about horse racing 24/7, basically bets and plays and horses to watch and all the fun stuff, it's Discord. If you don't know what Discord is, it's basically like a little, message board. So just go find that in our bios there and go join it. It's free. It's just for people to communicate with each other about something we like in horse racing. All right. I don't know. Got anything else that you want to touch on with as far it relates to the Kentucky Derby? Because really from now on, like you mentioned earlier, it's like we're going to be talking specifically. We might have updates here and there, of course, but it's pretty much we're straight into the specific Derby races as we get into them.
That's probably a pretty good like precursor or start, so to speak, I think. Yeah. And then we'll just go down the road and see what happens here. We have a lot to talk about over the next few weeks and kind of add to the conversation. But yeah,
I do have a good question for you. I have a question. Because I'm actually, and we've talked about this before on the show and obviously privately, but I am genuinely curious. Are we going to get, is this the year? Are you starting to feel like, are we going to get a little bit back to normal when it comes to the Kentucky Derby? Are you starting I mean, I know it's way too early, but like with some of the horses that are kind of looming around, do you kind of feel like maybe we're going to see something a little more normal this year?
Yeah, and I think we may have last year, if not for injuries and stuff. I think that the injuries kind of flipped it upside down a little bit. But I mean, look, it feels like so. It feels like so. But the horses that are healthy on January 11th, that's the problem. Will they be healthy even March 11th? So that's the problem. But as of right now, it seems like we've got some pretty nice horses.
Yeah, Shawty. I think Leslie's Rose is going to win the Derby. So just
what did you think of Leslie's Rose today?
I thought she looked good. I mean, I think that the horse that ran second ran huge. I wasn't. Again, it was one of those things. It's kind of like the Baffert horse the other day. I was like, I'm not really discouraged by the fact that she was somewhat close to that one because they were like 15 lengths ahead of everybody else. I think going longer. Again, I'm just looking for my first opportunity to probably drop her.
Right.
But from a bigger picture, I do think she's nice. I think stretching out, it feels like with her pedigree, she's going to be really good. I do think she's a really nice horse. So, but I don't think she's going to win the Kentucky Derby.
No, I don't. I was like, hopefully she gets better stretching out. I thought it's hard to call it bad because it's a win, it's an allowance, it's Gulfstream. It's not easy to win those races. And look, I think they were well clear of everybody else. So I think it was a solid race, but I don't think it jumped off the screen at all.
It's kind of one of those things that it looked like for me, I was like the turn, you're like, oh, this is about to be what I thought it was going to be. Right.
Yes.
And then you're like, okay, come on. You never really felt like she was going to lose, but at the same time, you were like, come on, like just pull away a little bit. And it's hard to say. It'd be interesting to see what the number comes back as from that race. Maybe that horse just ran huge. But I'm with you. It kind of looked like it had the makings of looking like it was about to be awesome, and it didn't. It really didn't come to light, So
Yeah, it was kind of like the change of command race where it's like, oh, this is gonna be a romp. Oh, is this horse gonna win? I think this horse may lose. Nope, she won, but it wasn't ideal for what you kind of wanted to see, but it wasn't awful at the same time. Again, it's hard to win races. It was her second start. I mean, people are so harsh. It's like second start, you can't just sit and go, well, she's trash now. No.
All I know is that from my expert here, Michael Osen, that listen, I've got 10 points in the fantasy. Do I have more? It's 10, right?
I got 10. Yep.
It's like easily the best start of my fantasy career, which I've won multiple times. Yeah. So I'm good. Like I've got 10. Usually when I'm claiming a horse, I go straight to the negatives, which I will unless I get another win. But I've already got 10 points. So I feel like I'm playing with house money at this point. So I'm ahead of the game, even with drafting a filly in the first round accidentally. So it's, again, if I didn't draft her, I would have been Dornick. That's going to be once he starts coming back and running. If he starts looking amazing, then I might feel a little more sick about it. Right now, I don't.
Yeah, we'll see. Like I said, there's some first round picks in there that are highly questionable still, and so.
By the way, that's a good. Let's go to that real quick. Fierceness, Nisos, Nash. Nash is on the chopping block right there, locked. We'll see, right?
Yep.
Sierra Leone, another one you're very curious about. Muth, obviously, I think he's going to be a nice one for guys. Yep. El Capi, that's another one that very interesting for yours.
Yep.
Knightsbridge, I don't even know that has he had to work recently?
I would hit the panic button here pretty quick on Knightsbridge.
Yeah, especially considering who's trained by Leslie's Rose, who got a win. Boom.
Yep.
Dornick and Parchment Party. So that's your first round. So yeah, I mean, there's several on that list that are not fillies that you need to be worried, at least very curious about. So
well, I mean, with a horse like El Capi and Knightsbridge, if he was working, but El Capi as well, it's like he could run fourth next time out, and it's a horrible pick. Or he could win, and it's like, okay, this is looking good. So,
well, it's all real. I mean, the first round is it passed in our league, past Fierceness, Nisos, and really past them. Nash, I guess, at the time felt a little more of a good pick, or at least of a for sure pick. But point of it being is it's really all relative to how they run after that, right? First round doesn't mean anything because you're drafting horses in December that are 2-year-olds, so it's really impossible. How many years? Other than that first, those heavy hitters in our fantasy league, it's very rare that you see a horse that's been drafted in the first. Usually it's like that horse turns out to be like the one you picked up in the 3rd round or the 4th round or claimed in the, in February or whatever. So you just, it's a tough, that's why these drafts are so tough, especially now when you have 11 teams.
Yep, for sure. I got Authentic in the 3rd round of our draft that year that I won it. And that was,
right before I drafted, and I had him circled. I was ready to. I was just so pumped to have him. Well, shit. I mean, I claimed Country House in February or January.
He ran that race at Gulfstream, and you claimed him. Yeah. That would have been January. I think it was either January or early February.
Dude, it was right after the Pegasus because the only reason I got him is because there was like a 9-way shake for who was that mule that we all
Hidden Scroll. That's
Hidden
right.
Scroll. Yep. I didn't get him, and my backup was Country House. If I didn't get him, and I won that one. So yeah, it's
yep.
See, you never know. All right, guys, that's it's a wrap on the Kentucky Derby contenders. Obviously, we will stay tuned as we go down the road towards the Kentucky Derby. And next up next week, we'll be talking legit Kentucky Derby prep races. Yeah, Eddie, we talked a little bit about Born Noble. Very interesting horse. Liked the horse. Thought the performance was really good. Again, it seems like one of Pletcher's top ones, but he's got several, so we'll see.
Yep. And we'll find out if he's what is that? A King's Barnes, or if he's somebody different, a little different than that.
I don't want to. I don't think I think he's alive, but where is King's Barnes? Like, he's okay. Like, is he okay?
I haven't heard that name since I just mentioned it in a long time. Let's see. Wait for it.
Has he been?
He had his first work back on New Year's Eve, and he had to work on January 6th, so he is alive.
And what was the Derby? No, has he ran since the Derby?
He ran in the Pegasus, not that Pegasus, but the Pegasus
Yeah.
at
Oh,
Monmouth.
Yeah, you're right.
And he got second. Yep. So he went maiden allowance, Louisiana Derby, 14th in the Kentucky Derby, second in the listed Pegasus Stakes, disappeared. So we'll see. But I'm not saying Born Noble's that. No, not at all. I'm just saying that's what we'll find out in the coming races.
Right. Medina Spirit was not, well, no. I don't think Medina Spirit was first round pick, was it?
No, I don't think so. He was drafted, I'm pretty sure, but well, I'm very sure. Paul had him, but I think it was a second round pick. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look.
Oh, that mule extra Neho. I thought they should have retired him.
Yeah, not excited about that.
Shoddy, if I had $1 for every time I've heard you be excited about Angel of Empire, so we'll see.
I'm not excited about him either, really.
Nope, don't like that. All right, guys, it is time for Rapid Fire, presented by Racing Dudes Best Bets. Go make sure you go check out the bets page at racingdudes.com. It's right there on the main menu. You can see the tab there, Best Bets. Halterman, myself, Magic, Papa Dude. We're all on there. Papa Dude's just been, I'm telling you, like, go follow this guy. Like, so we've kind of all gotten our little spots now, and Papa Dude, strictly in sports. And I'm telling you, like, and this isn't just like a spiel. If you want to you're not going to have huge hits, but if you want to have a system, in a very slow and steady, just play what he's playing, because look at, the profits are crazy. Let's look at it. I'll pull it up real fast on my end. He's $12,000 in profit, 21% ROI.
Yep.
And all time, he's got a 384 for 261 wins and losses. Incredible.
I said in a video the other day, a Best Bets video, I said, go to any sports site that will lie to you and say, oh, we've got all the secrets, we got these systems, we can't lose, and go find somebody that's got a legit record like that. And there isn't a secret to it. He just outworks everybody else. He texts me today. He goes, hey, I've got a line on this Hawaii game tonight. I'm like, Hawaii, Pop, what are you talking about? He goes, well, when Hawaii comes to the mainland and they're such and such the such and such favorites, always go against them. But when they're a slight favorite at home against a team that's better than them, take them, because that travel is just so tough. And he goes on and on. But he's got angles like this for everybody. If you want to bet college basketball, this is your guy. Like, he's got so many. Like, I guarantee you right now, he's probably watching. I don't know who's playing, but like College of Charleston taking on whoever, right? I mean, it's crazy the angles he has on these games.
It's just it's so hard in sports betting to have a positive. I mean, positive ROI is one thing, but to have like such a dramatic win loss in the win column is insane.
Yep.
I mean, Magic's got a great one, 96 and 50. But yeah, you go check. As what makes this page so great is you start to learn about how our different styles of play. I'm more spotty. Like, I pick my spots. I'm more aggressive in those spots. Halterman plays a lot of plays. Pretty much every day. You got sports for Papa Dude, Vinny, and Dennis. If you're looking to lose money, you could always fade. You could win money by betting the opposite of what Dennis told you to bet.
Well,
but still,
you're going to be disappointed because Dennis hadn't posted a play since October. So
why is he on here then?
I have no idea.
All right. Well, Dennis may be dead. So let's. Anyways, go check out the Best Bets page at racingdudes.com. All right, guys. Let's start with, let's see, where is it? Race number 6. We're going to go. Did you know there's a Kentucky Oaks race this weekend?
I heard.
Race number 6 at Aqueduct on Saturday. Busanda Stakes worth $100K, going a 1.8 for fillies, 3-year-olds. 20 points for the winner. 20, 10, 6, 4, 2 for your top 5. And what do you know? There are 5 horses in the race. So you're all getting points. One again, you're all getting points. Halterman 4-5 on Shimmering Allure. 5-2 on Jin Jin, 9-2 on Most of All. That's your top 3 choices. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not going to play McPeak as a favorite on top, so I will just say that Shimmering Allure definitely looks like the best horse in the race, but I've been fooled by that many a time. So we'll probably play number 3 Most of All on top in this spot for Bill Mott. Look, I don't think this is a great horse, but I do think, we'll run a little bit better than she did last time out. Keeping her kind of going long here, I think that's a good sign. Mott, obviously a very good trainer, liked that Lascano is aboard here. So give me the number 3 Most of All to pull off a mild upset.
It's funny how, you and I are a lot different, a lot alike in a lot of ways. And this one, we're very much alike because you see 4-5 on McPeak. You're just like, no, can't do it. I don't even look at the form. Mm-hmm. I know I'm not playing her. So let's move on. I went with the 1 Jin Jin, Brad Cox, a horse that didn't necessarily look awesome last time out in the Goldenrod, but I like the fact he's running a mile and 8th here. Had ran a mile 16th the last 2 efforts. Got second to West Sunset, 2 back, beat BV Stream in that race. Kind of been a hit or miss type horse, but it's kind of slowly. Seems like the distance is not going to be an issue for Jin Jin. Maybe that extra distance. The fact that Brad has got her going a little bit longer tells me he's not exactly worried. But again, it's Brad Cox. She's getting a little bit of class relief out of that Goldenrod race. And like you mentioned, I'm not playing Shimmering Allure. I was really between the 1 and the 3, right? I mean, that's the most logical. I would play both of those. I just have no interest in playing. And this thing too is like Shimmering Allure, fine, but what, I don't know what she's done to deserve 4-5 either. So I don't know.
Well, I don't think nobody's any good in this race. She's definitely has the best resume
for sure,
but what does that really mean in a race like this?
I mean, yeah, she has the best resume out of a group of shit,
right?
So it's like, yeah, I get it. And another reason why I'm not. Let's go to the Mockingbird.
Oh yeah, sure.
I expect a lot of clips being pulled from this, guys, using the Dumb and Dumber quotes. Mockingbird Stakes, Oaklawn Park, race 9, worth $150K, going 6 furlongs for 3-year-old fillies. Field of 6 lines up here for the elusive Mockingbird. How do you? Anyways, where are you going here? I got a name. This is an interesting. Not only is a horse, there's a horse name in here that. Tanya Showers sounds like a porn from like the 80s.
It does. That's who I'm picking.
That's who I'm picking too. So, but doesn't it that's like the movie you found, like the old VHS tape you found in your parents' bedroom? That's like, what is Tanya Showers? I'm gonna rent that one.
I certainly looked at that and thought that is an odd name for a race or a horse, and I thought that when she debuted as well. Look, I think she's the best of this group of 6. There's not a whole lot to get extremely excited about. I kind of did like the number 5 Divine Gal a little bit, but I think Hartman's got a little bit better one here with Tanya Showers. I think she's going to get the right setup, right kind of trip. So I took the 6 Tanya Showers in this one.
Chris Hartman, he's been hot at Oaklawn, and what's new, right? With especially these kind of horses and Landeros as well. And you combine those two, they've done quite well. So Tanya Showers in the Mockingbird, right? Of course. That's a sentence I never thought I would ever say, but here we are. I did say it. So there we go. Let's go to Tampa Bay. Let's go to this one's almost as bad, but at least it's the Gasparilla Stakes, race 7, 125, 7 furlongs for fillies 3-year-olds going for fillies 3-year-olds. I'm still flustered by the Tanya Showers. 7 furlongs. Still field of 8 lines up here. Mystic Lake for Saffie Joseph at 6-5. Do you think she can take to the dirt here and be as dominant as she has been on the synthetic?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this one. I think the synthetic form will transfer a little bit better to this surface than maybe the Gulfstream surface. But look, I I think Mystic Lake's going to be really hard to beat. I really do. I really like how the horses look there. Look, it is Tampa. Weird things can happen. I get if you don't really want to, or if you're a little bit worried about the surface, but isn't she just kind of a lot better than this group?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you look at the form, you're like, okay, maybe, let's try to beat her. Who else is in here? And you're kind of like, yeah, I just can't. The only one that I was semi interested in was the 6, Gorgeous Girl.
Yeah.
And that horse hadn't won a race since the maiden and hasn't looked that good the last 2, especially at Tampa last out. And I just think, look at how good Safi's been too to start off the meet here at Tampa. Like, 6 starts, 3 wins, 3 seconds. Obviously, Zayas is great, and those two are, incredible together. This one just kind of feels like is never going to just kind of cruise around there, never be tested.
Yep. That's how I saw it too.
All right. We're both on number 1, Mystic Lake to win the Gasparilla. And let's go to race number 9, the Pasco Stakes at Tampa. 125K for going 7 furlongs for 3-year-olds. So maybe we got some Derby horses in here. Halterman, field of 7 shows up here 3-2 on Bookham Dano and 9-5. There's West Saratoga. 9-5 on West Saratoga. What you think?
Kind of feel like I've said that to our buddy Dan Waite when I've been drunk before. Book him, Dano. Surely I've said that a time or two to him.
I would not bet that against the fact that you probably have said that. So.
Yeah, that sounds like something I would say to him. Am I crazy for really liking this horse? I really like the number 3 Bookham Dano in this spot. I think he looks way better than the rest of this bunch. I know he's a New Jersey bred, and I know that it is the Pasco, and it's probably not something you should like get overly excited about, but I think he's a huge standout. I think he beats West Saratoga and the rest of this bunch. I took number 3 Bookham Dano on top.
I mean, I guess we're gonna keep agreeing. I'm with you. I'm not like sitting here thinking this is like the next horse that's gonna win the Tampa Bay Derby, but this is a horse that has been favored. I get that it's, not the toughest races, but has been favored in all 4 starts. Got the first loss last time out and kind of just got out finished there. But that was going a mile that
Yep.
time, cutting back to the 7 furlongs. This horse at 6 furlongs and 5.5 has just been straight up dominant. Has the pace or has the speed, but also is very tactical. So I'm with you. I think this horse just kind of stands out. Obviously, the 1 West Saratoga is the threat. But when I looked at the numbers, and I don't know what they are for time form, but for all the buyers, I mean, this horse has just really stood out from top to bottom over the 1. So give me the 3 Bookham Dano as well.
Yeah, same kind of thing on the time form numbers too. I was more like I just kind of watched his replays and was like he kind of does everything that you kind of want one to do. And again, I'm not sitting there saying he's a world beater, but he seems pretty well meant for this spot.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna pull an upset, I had a little bit of interest in the 7 just because of the pace situation, but drawing on the outside, I don't necessarily love. But when I was kind of taking like a shot, I looked at the 7 for a little bit, but I don't know how, because if the 3 either goes and clearly he's faster than the rest of them, or if he sits off, I think he should be able to eat him up late. So give me the 3 Bookham Dano as well. I guess I have to ask. It's not really a Derby prep, but I mean, are you interested at all with him moving forward? Or is it kind of feels like sprinter, right?
Well, you kind of mentioned it to kind of answer the question of like, hey, when he did lose when he stretched out, so that does kind of concern you a little bit. So now I don't.
What about the 1 West Saratoga, a horse that's already ran in 2 Derby preps, won the Iroquois, and then got 5th, did not run well in the Breeders' Fee Charity to Locked in the Wine Steward. He finished 1-2, but obviously a horse they've had some hopes for. Any interest in him and kind of like wait and see with him?
He's probably more interesting as far as like Kentucky Derby trail than Bookham Dano because of the distance. I don't think he'll have trouble stretching out, but I don't have a lot of interest in him, to be honest. And I mean, let's be real. If there was a horse in here that you had a lot of interest in for the Derby, you probably would put him on top, even though Bookham Dano, yeah, he's nice, but you kind of got to be able to beat him, I would think, would be step one to get on the Derby trail,
Yeah, I don't really recall the top of my head, but just doesn't ever feel like a race that in years past where the pass goes like it doesn't feel like the circuit of a lot of these tracks where it's like, okay, you start with the Smarty, then you go to the Rebel. You know what I mean? This is just kind of like some random horses are in here. It doesn't really mean much moving forward when it comes to the Derby trail.
Right. I totally agree.
All right. Book 'em Dano. Who would have thought? That's our pick on a race and rapid fire, but here we are.
You didn't have the Pasco targeted for him.
I mean, as funny of the name as Tanya Showers is, Book 'em Dano is equally as awesome.
Right. Oh, totally.
I mean, that's a great name.
Yep. Totally.
When that one got sent in and got passed, you're like, oh yeah, that's great. Hopefully this horse is good because I'd love to hear that horse's name called multiple times.
Yeah.
Crazy Mason guys at Tampa. Crazy Mason was the 4-horse for Sacco.
Crazy Mason.
Yeah, interesting. Got second last out, going 6. I don't know.
Wouldn't be shocked.
Well, I frankly wouldn't be too shocked if any of these won.
Same. Yeah.
That's what kind of race that is. So,
yeah. I think that horse, Crazy Mason, I watched a couple of his, I think maybe his last one the most, but I didn't see anything spectacular, but I didn't see anything horrible either, but that's kind of the story of that race in general.
Right. All right, guys, that's all the time we have. Check us out at racingdudes.com for our free picks and our premium selections on our products page. Click the Get Racing Dudes premium button at the menu at racingdudes.com to learn more. We're on Twitter at racing_dudes, Instagram, Facebook, and now TikTok. So that all you TikTok users can go find the Racing Dudes, and we've got all our content on there as well. You can find episodes of Blinkers Off by visiting our podcast page, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. If you're watching here, make sure you hit us a follow, a like. And if you want to listen to the Magic Mike Show, you can find them as well as all those same channels. They did the Santa Anita Park late pick 5 preview today. So if you want to talk about that, or if you want to get more information on their thoughts, go make sure you watch that. And the Dudes Who Bet, Halterman and Papa Dude recorded that earlier. It's live out there now. NFL playoff picks was the topic at hand, which is a perfect segue into our NFL playoff talk here for a second. I watched some of it. I'm sure you saw my comments. I was chiming in a little bit, but I did see. I didn't see who you guys picked though for the Cowboys game. Do either one of you believe in Green Bay?
We both picked the Cowboys in that one.
I don't think if you're a Cowboys fan, you love the matchup. But I do think they should win. They should win, but it's also the Cowboys. Green Bay is playing well right now, and so is Jordan Love. But
yeah,
I'd be a little surprised if they lost.
I would be surprised if they lost. Now, if you don't think they're going to cover 7, there's some opportunities there. But I don't think Dallas is going to lose at home to Green Bay.
All right, let's hear it. I heard. I can't remember who was asking. Who? Curtis. Yeah, the Discord is you just go. You can search for Racing Dudes Discord, or go to our Twitter page, YouTube page, all the places, and you can find the Discord. I'm going to throw a link on our homepage as well for the Discord. But yeah, you just go search for the Racing Dudes, join it. It's free. It doesn't mean anything, and you can just chat with us if you have questions. I'm on there, Halterman's on there, Matt, everyone's on there. So if you want comments and things like that, it's just fun little area to talk about horse racing. So Halterman, I'm sure you guys talked a lot bit about this on today's show, but any thoughts? A lot of head coach outings this week, not just in NFL, but in college as well.
Yeah, we did about 45 minutes on it on the Dudes Who Bet Sports Show, Papa Dude and I, but yeah, I'll touch on it here as well. Yeah, the Nick Saban news definitely rocking college football, and who goes to Alabama, and then where are they coming from, and then what job is open, right? So the hot rumor was Dan Lanning from Oregon, and then that's not going to happen. So, but if he would have went, then Oregon's open. So it's going to be a kind of a carousel here. Although the more you kind of hear, like Lane Kiffin, it was one I thought that would make a ton of sense. It doesn't sound like he's going to go there either. So where does Alabama go? It's going to be really interesting. And I told people, and nobody really listened, but I told them it's not a given that Alabama is just going to be great no matter who they hire. Because if you look before Saban got there, they were a mess, and they had been a mess for a while. And you got to hire the right guy, and especially these days and times in college. So that will be very interesting to see who they hire. They can't get it wrong. If they get it wrong, they will go down. I guarantee it.
Well, and I don't know I haven't really looked, but I'm sure there's got to be recruits that are backing out now, right?
There's one for sure that has. Everybody else is kind of just in a waiting pattern, I think, to see. And again, like you can't just hire anybody. Like you got to get it right. And so that's the thing with recruiting and with NIL and the transfer portal. It's a different game right now. And you get right down to it. That's probably why a guy like Saban was like, I don't know that I've got the energy to keep doing this.
Yeah, how about that? -30 wind chill. The actual temp is supposed to be like 0 degrees, and the wind's gonna be brutal. I've been looking at the prices because I'm like, well, shit. I mean, I might go, but lower level playoff game at Arrowhead. Lower level seats are going for as low as $79.
That shows you how miserable it's going to be. Yeah.
You can't get a lower level in a preseason game with the Chiefs for $79. So it just goes to show you. And so it makes you wonder what's the crowd turnout going to be? Not that it, but that is a huge thing for having a home field game at in the playoffs, right? And so it's definitely going to be interesting. I'm kind of with you guys on how you talked about the Chiefs. I mean, obviously I'm biased, but they should win, right?
Yeah.
They should. I don't really believe in Miami. They haven't been good against quote unquote good teams. I don't know. We'll see if Kansas City is a good team or not, but I just feel like our defense will be good enough to shut anything down from them. So it will be fun though. We have, we played Tyreek already this year, but it wasn't at Arrowhead. So it'd be kind of interesting to have him come home.
I would be, I can't say I'd be shocked because this Chiefs team's just not very good, but I'd be pretty surprised. I just think the weather and the Chiefs are a little bit better anyway, and the Dolphins are kind of fraudish. I think the Chiefs get it done. I don't think you'll have to sweat a whole lot this game. And then after that, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah. They'll play the Bills probably at Buffalo. I would assume they'll beat the Steelers, right?
Yeah.
It's not easy going from here. We needed the Dolphins to somehow beat the Bills the other night, and that would have been huge for the Chiefs to get back to the AFC Championship. But listen, I kind of have an amazing mindset going in. Most years, well, every year, especially Mahomes era, I go into the playoffs a nervous wreck, and now I'm just kind of like, we'll see. I've kind of got my expectations already set, and they're low.
Yeah.
I think they could. Would I be surprised if they made it to the Super Bowl? Not really, because it's the Chiefs, and the AFC's been tricky this year. And will I be surprised if they lose to Miami on Saturday? No, I really won't. I mean, it'd be like kind of shocking, right? Like, but at the same time, like there's been every game for the Chiefs, they've found ways to either keep themselves in it too close or lose, right? And so I wouldn't be surprised either way. But I do think the Chiefs will win. Past that, like you said. What about the Browns-Texans game is going to be a fun one to watch. I really like both of these teams. CJ Stroud's Rookie of the Year. To get this team to the playoffs is insane. The Browns with the rejuvenation with Joe Flacco, what he looks like in that defense, it's going to be an awesome game.
I'll be very disappointed if it's not an awesome game. And who would have ever thought this might be like the best game? Like if you would have told me, well, Joe Flacco's going to lead the Browns in to play the Texans on week 1, or in week 1, you would have told me that for a playoff
Yeah, no
matchup.
way.
I would have been like, yeah, okay. It's crazy. I picked the Browns, but not with a ton of confidence. I think their team is better. So I went with the better team versus the better quarterback. But man, CJ Stroud's been tremendous, but I think the Browns will be able to slow him down enough to get the win.
Davey, I'm going to go under on that. I think under. I don't think he has to.
Probably not.
Steelers, Bills. I mean, Bills should win that game. I don't. That one -10. The line, is that what it is now? I don't know what it's at right now. But
yeah, I mean that shouldn't be much.
No, that means I would probably play Buffalo. Packers and Cowboys. I'm with you. I think that -7 is a little tricky. I do think they might pull away late. Dallas, but I wouldn't be surprised if this game is somewhat tight for a little while. Rams Lions to me is maybe the game of the weekend.
Yeah.
Besides the Browns Texans, I'm excited for too. But man, Rams Lions, you talk about two teams that have been kind of, the Lions started off so well, and the Rams did not start off well, but have gotten really good late. And you've got Puka and you've got Kupp and Stafford, who's coming back to back home, playing against the Lions. It's got a lot of storylines. I don't know. Two teams certainly that are good, solid teams. I think it's going to be a good game.
I do too. I think it's going to be a really good game. I'm tentatively on the Rams, but I've been back and forth on this one a while. I think just kind of the experience, and the Rams are kind of playing a little bit better than they were obviously earlier. I kind of just think the Rams might go in there and upset them. I kind of hope they don't, because the Lions winning, it's kind of nice, but I kind of like the Rams a little bit.
Yeah, I don't fully trust the Lions and Goff, but there's several of those games that, who would have thought too that another one of those games right at the beginning of the season that you say Rams Lions is the first round, kind of an interesting one. And then another one, I mean, who would have thought the Bucks would have gotten to the playoffs? But here we are, Bucks and Eagles. Yeah. Being a Monday game is kind of weird. But a Monday game, Eagles, Bucks, who, and I saw this funny stat too. That game, the game Eagles and the Bills game, remember that crazy game? And it was like from that point on, the Bills went on a huge run, and the Eagles have just completely fallen off the map. But here they are, defending NFC champs. I think they might be. I think they might be get beat here. At home Bucks. I think it's going to be a close game.
I think these might be the two worst teams in the playoffs, minus the Steelers. You could probably put them in there, but I do not think. I don't know. I've watched Tampa a lot. They were really playing well. Mayfield's kind of banged up. They have not played well the last 2 weeks, but I mean, my God, the Eagles have just been brutally bad. So this is kind of a toss up. I don't. End of the day, I do think the Eagles are going to win the game. I think they're better.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I tell you what, and I'm one of them. I can say it. I wrote off Baker. I thought that's he's just basically filling time for another guy to come in Tampa,
Yep.
And he's looked awesome out there. He really has, and he's got the weapons to throw to right now. And so yeah, I don't. The Eagles have just been in way too many close games, and early in the season they found ways to win, but they haven't lately. They should win. I'll say that they should. Like, you look at that roster. How are they not? How could they not?
No, defense is falling apart, and they're banged up offensively. Is the short answer to probably a longer problem, right? But that's just it. Like I 4 weeks ago, you kind of had the thought, well, that division winner, whether it be Tampa or the Saints, will probably play the Eagles or Cowboys and just get killed in that first round game, whoever it is. And now you're here, and it's like the Eagles are such a mess. It's in Tampa. They might beat them, like it's not impossible. Still, at the end of the day, I think the Eagles win.
I'll tell you what, though, when you look at the records, like the fact that the Steelers are 10-7 is kind of insane, really. I mean, imagine if they had a quarterback.
imagine if they, I mean, I have no idea how they do this every year. I mean, you really have to give Tomlin a ton of credit. This team, they were atrocious and they won 10 games. And if you watched like the last 3 weeks when they pulled off these wins, they looked horrible, but they would win the game.
They're like the worst games to watch.
Yeah.
So and still found ways to win. Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Wouldn't it be amazing if you had a Cleveland Cleveland versus Tampa?
I'll tell you this. I don't think either one's making it. And I think Tampa has zero chance. I don't think Cleveland is impossible.
No, because they have the defense to do it.
Yep.
They've got a Super Bowl winning defense.
Yep. And
and there's a guy named Joe Flacco who's won the Super Bowl before with a very similar, you know what I mean? Like that roster defensively was unbelievable, that Ravens team, right?
Yep.
And the offense did what they needed to do.
Yep.
And that's a lot what they're looking like.
I think they could get beat Saturday, or I think they could make a run. I really think it could go either way with them, but I don't think they're absolutely impossible. And if you think about their second round game would match up maybe, depending on how it folds out, against the Ravens. And I think that's a team the Ravens really don't want to play. I wouldn't want to play a divisional opponent in the first round. I think that'll be a tough game. So I think the Ravens will beat them, but I don't think the Browns are completely impossible here.
If there were two teams that I like from each division, obviously, we don't have, Baltimore playing and the 49ers playing this week, but like two teams that could be a threat to those two teams, let's just say, that aren't, the Chiefs or the Cowboys or whatever. I would say it's the Browns and I would say it's the Rams.
Yeah.
Two teams I think that I would not want to play if I was one of those teams.
And again, divisional games, they're always tougher. And so that's both of those teams would be a divisional game. So yeah, no, I can't really argue that. I feel like the 49ers are pretty big standouts over there on that side. I think the Ravens I don't know. The Bills can beat you. The Chiefs somehow could beat you. You can't really count them out of it. And like I said, the Browns are kind of tricky. Listen, the Texans aren't going to be easy to beat either if they were to win. So
if the Texans defense decides to play like it's been playing, they will be tough too. Because CJ Stroud he's him. He's legit.
He's very good.
And if they had Tank Dell, man, if they had him, like he was, that's an offense. I mean, I think the Texans are a team that's, make no mistake, they're going to be in this for a while.
Yeah, there are times probably coming where they're actually like serious contenders, but they're not. I don't think they're quite complete yet, and I think that's what's going to end up getting them. But they're not impossible either. Again, when you got quarterbacks like that, it's a quarterback league. When you got that quarterback that's playing that well, that goes a long ways, and that will cover up a lot of problems. And the Chiefs know that better than most. The Chiefs I thought were pretty complete last year, but some of those earlier years with Mahomes, they weren't exactly complete, but he covered up a ton of holes.
Oh yeah. No one thought that the Texans were going to be a 10-7 team this year.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely not. I mean, you got CJ Stroud, you're excited about it for the future, but not year one, right? And so it's been incredible. And with the Browns, I just think a lot of times when you got a veteran like Flacco, or you got a veteran like Stafford, and not just Stafford, but McVay and the whole, they've been there, they won it, but when you have that kind of experience going into the playoffs and you're playing the way you're playing right now, you're tough, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're in with a chance. I would not want to play either one of those teams. I would hate to play the Browns, because if you're an offensive team, they're gonna stymie you. They're gonna make a defensive game, and if you can't figure that out, you're in trouble. So,
yeah, I think that's kind of to your point. It's kind of what we were saying. It's like we love Stroud. We think he's going to be really good. He is really good. Not going to be, but it's like probably the worst matchup for him in the playoffs because this team, they're very good defensively and they can get after the quarterback.
All right. So are you? I guess we'll just leave it. Do you have a prediction or no? Like as far as like from the what's in the the actual playoffs, have you put your prediction in for who you think is gonna Super Bowl matchup?
Yeah, I think it's I hate to be real chalky about it, but I've said it for about 4 or 5 weeks now. It just feels like Ravens 49ers. It just does. And I know they're 1 seeds, but they just feel like they're a little bit better. And I'm very confident the 49ers are going to get there. And my only pause with the Ravens is we've kind of seen the Lamar thing in the playoffs, and that's still a concern.
I filled mine out just right after the playoffs were announced the other night. I think I put the I put the Ravens and Chiefs in the AFC Championship, and the only reason I put the Chiefs there is just because they've had we've been in there the last 6 years or whatever. So, I mean, I think their chances of getting there are tough, but it's not impossible whatsoever. So, Ravens, Chiefs, San Francisco, and Dallas. San Francisco versus the Ravens in the Super Bowl, 49ers to win it all. They damn near did everything they could to win that game against the Chiefs a few years back and just fell through their fingers. They wanted to come back. They've got the guy. They've got Purdy. They've got the defense. They've got McCaffrey now. I mean, I just think there's a lot. This feels like the year for them. It's felt like the year for them most of the year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that'd be to me. I'm all for it. I mean, obviously, I'd rather have the Chiefs than they're playing, but
Right.
I think the matchup Ravens versus the 49ers would be a really fun game. So
before the Ravens 49ers played, John White and I kind of thought 49ers minus 3.5 would be the line there. But now that the Ravens kick their butts,
yeah, big time.
I don't know. That line's going to be real tight, I think now.
Yeah, I think everyone kind of went into that, at least not everybody, but a lot of us went into that game thinking, all right, 49ers are about to flex and show how good they are in beating a team like the Ravens. And not only did that not happen, it flipped.
Yep.
And Lamar, who's going to win MVP this year, did the opposite. So,
yep.
By the way, who would have ever thought Lamar Jackson, 2-time MVP? I saw a stat when you compared the stats, like just the basic stats of yards, touchdowns, and turnovers. Like him and Mahomes had very close stats when it comes to that. And it just kind of goes to show you, like, when you win and when you have a year like this, when you haven't had a clear standout and you win and you put up the number, like just good, the good numbers, but nothing crazy, you can still win MVP. So,
yep. I think the new offensive coordinator, Todd Monken, deserves a ton of credit. You saw it early. They were much sharper offensively. The system is a lot better than what they had for his skill set. So I think the offensive coordinator hire was a great one, and I think that he deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at like the true definition of MVP, right? It like McCaffrey should probably be right up there. And frankly, if he would have got the record, I wish he would have, because I think I would have voted for him, right? To be MVP, because like you look at true difference makers. I mean, shit, McCaffrey. Yeah, McCaffrey. Look how many touchdowns McCaffrey has. So
yeah, no, hard to argue.
But it's a quarterback. It's kind of a quarterback award, right? So unless you do something extreme, which is what Tyreek was trying to do, but
it's kind of the Eclipse Awards. I don't really care, they settle it on the field. What do I need to? Why do I care? Like what the Associated Press voted for the best player,
right? And 9 times out of 10, the MVP goes to a guy that's on a playoff hunt team, right? And so you're like, they don't give a shit, right? It's like, great, but do I want to win an MVP or do I want to win a Super Bowl, right?
Right.
Yeah. Anyways, guys, all right, should be a fun weekend. So at least we got that. We got it'll be cold as shit outside, so we'll be inside watching football, and with horse racing lacking, we'll definitely keep busy. So guys, thanks for tuning in. Again, we'll be back next week. We'll have tons more, and we'll actually have some Derby type races to talk about and cover. So until next time, I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Blinkers Off. Join our horse racing community at racingdudes.com and follow us on Twitter at racing_dudes. Want to make money betting horses? Bet with the Racing Dudes.